Okay, so today we're doing something a little different
A little bit, yeah.
for this deep dive.
Yeah.
We're taking on this source material
Mm-hmm.
called Texto Pegado. And honestly, it's basically like a challenge.
It is.
It's throwing down the gauntlet
Yeah.
and saying, let's debate the end of the world.
Right? So heavy stuff.
Yeah, maybe a tad ominous for, a podcast.
Right.
But, stick with us
Yeah.
because I think it's going to get
It's going to get good.
really interesting.
Yeah, it's a fascinating prompt.
Right. I mean,
It is, but it's also incredibly
yeah,
open-ended.
to vague, right.
Yeah, there's no specifics on what kind of end we're talking about. It's
Yeah.
just like, here's this huge concept.
Yeah.
Go.
Where do we even start with
Right.
this for,
Exactly.
for our listener?
I mean, the end of the world could mean a million things.
So many things.
Right.
Yeah. So how do we even approach this?
Well, I think the point is there are many different endings, right?
Okay.
And we can think about this on multiple levels.
Okay.
We could talk about the literal planet-destroying apocalypse,
Uh-huh.
but we can also talk about the end of civilizations, the end of ways of life.
Right.
Even just those moments
Yeah.
where our own personal world feels like it's falling apart.
Right. And you know what? I think that actually
Yeah.
is a good
way.
way to approach this
Yeah.
for, for our listener, because
Absolutely.
everybody's had those experiences
Right.
of loss
Of loss. Yeah.
or heartbreak or some massive change
Absolutely.
where it felt like
Your whole world.
the end of the world
But then
ending.
great.
Yeah. And in a way,
Yeah.
it is.
Yeah.
Right. Like, think about it. That job you poured your heart and soul into,
Oh, yeah.
and then you got laid off from
Yeah.
a relationship.
Breakup. A breakup that just
Blindsided.
came out of nowhere.
Right.
Even just moving away from your hometown.
Oh, yeah.
Leaving everything familiar behind.
Right.
Those are all endings.
Huge.
With real, tangible consequences.
Yeah.
Even if they're not, on a global scale.
They don't involve a giant meteor or anything.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I think it's not just about the event itself.
Right.
Right. It's how we react to it.
It's how we cope with it.
What we learn.
What we learn from it. Yeah.
Right. Because in those moments,
Exactly.
we have a choice.
Yeah.
Right. We can kind of crumble under the weight of it all.
We can give in.
Or we
That's
can
good.
pick ourselves up.
Yeah.
And learn and
grow. Yeah.
and build something new.
And build something new.
And history is full of examples
Oh, yeah.
of people and societies doing just that.
Of people being resilient,
Right.
of civilizations rising and falling, and new things coming out of that.
Ooh, you've teed up the perfect transition.
Have I?
Because now we can kind of zoom out a bit.
Yeah.
And look at, what you call the figurative ends.
Yeah.
Right? These societal collapses or cultural shifts.
Mm-hmm.
That felt like the end of an era.
Right.
And our source material, it's not specific.
Right.
But I'm guessing this has happened more times than
Many times.
we realize, right?
More times than we can count.
Yeah. So what are some examples that come to mind?
Well, you could just look at the Roman Empire.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Like, for centuries, they were the superpower.
Everybody wanted to be them.
Yeah, exactly. Everybody wanted to be them.
Right.
But they had internal strife. They had economic woes.
Right.
And then they had those pesky barbarians at the gates.
Right.
All of that led to their downfall.
Yeah, and that must have been
It was a huge upheaval for the people living through it.
right.
But it also paved the way for new cultures and ways of life to emerge.
Right. It's like a phoenix rising from the ashes.
Exactly.
Right. Destruction and creation all tangled up together.
All part of the same cycle.
So are there any other examples that really
Yeah.
jump out at you?
Well, the Bronze Age collapse is a fascinating one.
Okay.
That happened around 1200 BCE,
Okay.
and that wasn't just one single event. It was a whole cascade of things.
Oh, wow.
Climate change, famine,
Uh-huh.
internal conflict, all of that
Wow.
brought down multiple civilizations across the Mediterranean.
Oh, wow.
It's really a stark reminder that even the most advanced societies
Right.
are vulnerable to forces they might not fully understand or control.
Right. And that kind of brings us, full circle
Yeah.
to, those big,
Yeah.
scary
The big apocalyptic ones.
apocalyptic scenario
The ones that make the movie.
that,
Yeah.
the listener might have been expecting from the get-go,
Mm-hmm.
right? The asteroids, the pandemics,
Nuclear war.
nuclear war, yeah, all that stuff. But I think if we really want to
Unpack this.
unpack this for the listener,
Yeah.
we need to go beyond just
Yeah.
the wow, that would be bad reaction.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Like, that's not very interesting.
Not really.
And what's more interesting is the human element,
Yeah.
right? how would we, as individuals and as a society, react to the knowledge that our time is limited?
Right.
Would we band together?
Would we descend into chaos?
Would we descend into chaos?
Right.
Would we cling to old beliefs or search for new meaning?
Right. Would we double down on everything we've been doing?
Right.
Or would we completely...
We'll completely change.
Reinvent.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's where it gets...
That's where it gets really thought-provoking.
Really interesting.
Right.
Because knowing that the end is coming, however it might arrive.
However it might arrive.
It forces to confront some pretty fundamental questions.
Fundamental questions, yeah.
About how we want to live.
About life.
Yeah, life.
Right now.
In this moment.
Right. What do we value?
Yeah. What are our priorities?
What do we want to leave behind?
What kind of legacy do we want to leave behind?
And maybe that's the real point of this whole end of the world debate.
Right. Not to just dwell on the doom and gloom,
right,
but to use it as a lens to examine our present choices and actions.
So to bring it all back to our listener, you know, we've gone from personal heartbreak to the collapse of empires to full-blown apocalypse.
Yeah, we covered it all.
Right. And the common thread here is,
what is it?
Endings are inevitable.
Endings are a part of life.
But they also hold the seeds of something new.
Absolutely new beginnings.
Right. It's about how we face those endings, what lessons we learn, and what we build in their wake.
Exactly. And that's something worth pondering.
Yeah.
Because even if the world as we know it ends, life in some form will find a way. What will your role be in that new beginning?
That's a great question.
It is a question.
For all of us.
For all of us, yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, on that note, I think we're going to wrap up this deep dive.
Thanks for joining us.
But hopefully it's given, you know, our listeners
some food for thought.
Plenty to think about.
Yeah.
Yeah. And who knows, maybe we'll revisit this.
Maybe we'll have...
The end of the world thing.
Yeah, the world's not ending yet, so...
Another time, right? Okay, great. Well, until then.
See? Bye.